Hi, my name is Maurice Daly. I'm working with a company called TrueSec, and we're coming live from Microsoft Ignite 2018, together with a colleague of mine, Peter Lofgren.
Yeah, welcome.
We're going to run through something that we did a demo at Ignite. I had a session on ransomware, and one of the pieces of feedback I got on the demo was we'd like to look at it more in depth. So we've taken one of the core features, which is App Locker, and we're going to run a demo here today and show you how to set up the services and the rules that are required to help you prevent your company from being infected with malicious content.
That's a really awesome feature.
Yeah.
So for me, it's about two things, right? And I think you showcase a lot of this on your session, and it was you have one app locker on one side, and then you have device guard, code integrity, and
Yes.
I think we might need to start with that, so to explain to people that there are two sides to this, and they do basically the same stuff, right?
They do the same stuff, yeah, but with the code integrity side of things, what I was saying to the audience was, some of them don't have the overhead to actually manage that, because it is an additional overhead.
It is an additional overhead, and what you need to understand for our viewers is that if you look at code integrity, that's about managing your complete device and making sure it's basically bulletproof. So everything you run needs to be signed and approved and pre-approved, so you can't run anything out of the box. While App Locker is a bit more relaxed, but still offers the security that you need, right?
Indeed, yeah. It's an additional layer of security to help you prevent your machine.
Okay, so let's dive in. So we'll begin on the domain controller, and what we need to do is create a group policy. So we'll create a basic group policy, and we'll link it straight to the OU where you want this place. And now you can use a test OU if you want to start limited, right? Mm-hmm. Or we can link it to the root. I don't recommend that. Let's start with a test OU.
Bypass everything.
You give it a name. Then we need to edit the policy. And there are a couple of things you need to note about this, okay? So first off, for this to work, we're going to come back to this as well, we need a service to be running. So under Windows settings, security settings, we have system services. And under here, there's an application identity service. Now by default, this is turned off, and this needs to be enabled for App Locker to be able to detect what kind of applications and so on you're starting and running. So we set it to automatic. No other changes needed, just make sure that's set to automatic, and make sure everything that runs. Second part is the application control policies. And under here we have App Locker. Now the first part is you need to configure rule enforcement. Now, there are different sets. We have executables, we have installers, script rules, and packaged apps. Now for this demo, we're going to talk about executables. That's the main focus, right?
Yes. Yep.
But starting with Windows 10 and Windows 8, there's actually a connection between executables and packaged apps. So for this to really work, you need to have packaged app rules as well. Otherwise, it won't evaluate the executable files either.
That's only on an audit basis, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So we'll set everything to audit for now. Packaged app and executables. So that's audit will only log information about what's happening. We're going to show you later what happens when you turn on enforcement, which means it will actually block and prevent this. We need to create some rules. We start with the executable rules. So what you should always do is create default rules, okay? Whenever you start doing this, create the default rules. This will generate 3 rules for you. They're very simple. One is all files located in the Windows folder. That will give your users permission to run everything Windows related.
Okay.
Very important, right? What happens if you don't have that?
Things aren't really going to work in Windows.
No.
And where else would you need?
Program files is a good place to start.
That's a good place,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, software gets installed there.
Yeah. And then the third one is a bypass rule for local administrators to make sure they can run everything and just elevate and make sure everything is running. So we'll start with that. We'll come back here in a second, but first we jump down to packaged apps. Packaged apps you also need to create the default rules. Now in here, there's just one very simple rule, and it will say all signed packages. Now that will give you the ability to run everything that's in the store, but if you have an unsigned package that you're built yourself, that won't run, and you need to create a custom rule for that. So this is a very good start, and it will allow Windows to run everything you have in program files where you should install stuff. The other thing is there might be things that you installed somewhere else.
And that's why you're going to enable it in audit mode. So
Yeah.
when you run them, it's going to write to an event log, and you can look back at a later time or export it out to CSV,
Yep.
do some data gathering, and then find out what isn't in there. Because some programs, they might run from program data, for instance. Citrix
Absolutely.
has it. Even Teams.
Even Teams. So when you gather that data, you want to add a custom rule. Now, the general idea is that you should only approve applications that are signed. That's not always the case, but if you strive for that, you will get a very nice, clean baseline. It is very straightforward to do this. So what we do is we create a new rule. Then we do next. You define who is allowed to run this, or if you want to send it the other way and say this application or vendor is not explicitly denied, so you won't be able to start it. For this, we want to do a publisher. And then
Why are you doing publisher, Peter?
because if we go back, I'll show you, you have publisher, path, and file hash. Well, file hash is nice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it calculates the hash. The problem with that is, let's say you have a script file. Anytime anyone updates the script file,
Your hash is going to change.
yeah, or the application exe, every time there's an update, the hash changes.
Mm-hmm.
Path, well, path is a nice thing, but that means everything in that folder is now wide open. So if the user drops a different file in there, they're free to run that as well.
Yeah.
So publisher will allow us to be a bit more specific,
Indeed. Yeah.
but we can also be very broad. So I have a reference file here. So you browse for your file, and it can be on your desktop or wherever. It needs to be an exe file. So we open that, and it will read the information here. And if you look at the demo here, it will be specified down to the file version. Now there's a slider here, and you can define this and say that exe file, that product name, or for your bigger vendor, you can even do publisher and say everything from Adobe, everything from whoever you want to run from, Citrix or...
And again, yeah, I mean, if you're limiting on file version, you update it, you're going to have problems.
Yeah. So we prefer publisher. So let's do publisher, no exceptions. You give it a name, and you click create. That's it.
Done.
Done.
That was easy.
That was easy.
And it adds to your security level.
A lot. A lot. So I think we should switch over and
show it in action.
show it in action.
Okay, so at this stage now, we've got the rules created.
Yeah.
And what we're going to do is we're going to look at if we try to run an executable which isn't trusted. It's not part of the
Yeah.
publishers or in the Windows directory or in program files.
It's somewhere it shouldn't be, and it's running something bad, right?
Indeed, yeah. So here we have the executable I ran at my Ignite demo. It is in fact just a PowerShell script compiled into an exe. So it's not going to obliterate my machine, but this is what should happen if you have App Locker enabled. Straight away, blocked. Good thing?
Yeah, very good thing. I mean, if I could request something by Microsoft at this point, it would be customizable error messages for this.
Indeed, yeah. The information that's coming back doesn't tell the user
Why
yeah.
or what we're doing, but it is an error message that is sort of helpful.
Indeed. I mean, look at the IT department. What they'll want to do at this stage is they're probably going to get a call from the end user.
Very likely.
And then they're going to want to look and see why was the application blocked.
Yes.
So to do so, there is an event log. So if we go under the Microsoft Events, Windows and App Locker, you'll see in here, if we hit F5, we have an entry from showing that the Microsoft Ignite downloader.exe was prevented from running.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
It's very simple, and you have a unique ID for those errors and stuff like that, which means you can now use PowerShell to gather everything if you run in audit mode and stuff.
Okay.
So one thing I wanted to see, and is, I think we need to show that the service is running,
sure.
because it's an easy way for you to check, is this actually working on my machine before you start testing with different applications and stuff like that.
Yep, so here we have the application identity service running.
Yeah.
So
It's
it's there gathering.
Yeah, and it's very easy to check and verify that everything's
Yep.
working.
And if we go to open, say, Notepad. Oh. Okay, Notepad opens fine, and we should have some additional information that the application was in the system 32 directory, so that's in Windows, which we've already whitelisted,
Yeah,
and it's allowed to run.
awesome. That's how you get started with AppLocker. It's not more difficult than that.
No, very easy.
Very easy. And with that,
I think
Well,
we're done.
And we'll say thank you from Ignite. See you soon.
And if you want to follow our video feed, please subscribe.